The irony of identity politics. One thing liberals love is categories. They love to classify people based on attributes and characteristics that some of us have entirely no control over, whether it's race, gender, sex, religion, you name it. Now, something I've noticed, and no one in the political space is really speaking about this, I guess because it might not be politically correct to speak about it, but I can speak about it and I will. The irony of identity politics is that it truly exposes the contempt, hate and disregard which the woke elite have for the groups that they claim to be representing. Their willingness to play identity goes so far to the extent that they don't even realise when they themselves are exhibiting the sheer lack of respect and sensitivity for the groups of the people who they claim they have the best interest for. What if I told you that America is yet to have its first African American president? But Barack Obama! What if I told you America has never had anyone in the presidential office who is of African American descent? Prove me wrong. The thing is, you can't. For those of you who are not familiar with what the one drop rule is, I will explain. The one drop rule is essentially a social creation, a rule that was created in America during the days of slavery that essentially stemmed from the idea that blackness is a contaminator. The idea is that one drop of black blood makes you a black person. Hang on, I'm going somewhere with this. If a Caucasian man and an African woman have a child who is half Caucasian, the child is considered a black person. If the product of an interracial union goes off to have a child with a Caucasian person, the offspring is still black. And if that offspring decides to have another relationship with someone who's of Caucasian descent, the offspring is still black. Bonkers, right? The idea is that anyone with so much as one drop of blackness, if you have any ancestor who is black, you can walk around literally calling yourself a black person, even if you're 99% Caucasian. This rule is obviously toxic for the reasons I don't even have to list, but especially because it erases fully black people, and we've seen this happen so many times. I'll probably discuss this in another video. The idea of people who are barely black being able to benefit from opportunities created for black people. But aside from this, it upholds the racist ideal of blackness being less than and being essentially a contaminator. You would think that in 2020, people would let go of this racist one drop rule given the history. Barack Obama, great lad, dashing lad. Barack Obama was born to a Caucasian mother and an African, Kenyan I believe, father, but he was adopted and raised by his adoptive parents, and he spent a great portion of his formative life in Hawaii. Not only is Barack Obama not African American, because African Americans are a specific ethnic group. They are the descendants of slavery in America. He also happens to be a biracial man. And if we won't refer to Barack Obama as a white man, why would we refer to him as a black man? If you've not been living under a rock, you will have known about the current political situation in America where the vice president-elect is said to be Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris was born to an Indian mother and a Jamaican father, who some people say is actually a biracial man, because there are Indo-Jamaicans, there are Indians in Jamaica, there are Asians in Jamaica. So just because someone is Jamaican, ethnicity and nationality aren't the same thing. In the instance that Kamala Harris's father is a biracial man, Kamala Harris is still technically biracial in the sense that she would be black and Asian at the same time, albeit a quarter black. Right now she is being referred to as the first black woman to be elected into presidential office, the first black woman to become a VP of America, and I just think it's so absurd. Identity politics has gone so far that people are losing their minds. Could you not just say congratulations? Like, was that not enough? Like, why do you have to prefix everything with the first black woman, the first South Asian woman, the first woman of colour? I just think it exposes the pathology of the individuals and leaders who are heavily invested in identity politics to the extent that they really do have no boundaries. They're just so desperate to be able to weaponize the identity of people against each other that even in instances like this, they are so hell-bent on their agenda, and they're calling a woman who, let's be honest, I'm African, Kamala Harris, would be referred to as a white woman in Africa. If she came to where I'm from, they would see her as a white woman. I think it's important to make people aware that in the continent where black people originate from, they would see Kamala as a white woman. This pathology is extremely problematic because, number one, it sets a dangerous precedent at the cost of African Americans who will have to suffer because they don't have the representation of people who actually understand their experiences. It's also harmful because it takes away history-breaking moments from black people and African Americans. Because when America does end up having a first African American president, they're going to be referred to as the second. It's kind of unfair to African Americans, and it's problematic because it's racist. It's really a racist ideology. So why do they keep doing this? I've arrived at 6 reasons I could think of why this keeps happening. Number one is that they think all black people are the same. They don't respect the diversity among black people. They don't see that we have ethnicities, we have different groups, we have different characteristics, and we're not actually all the same. We're not a monolith, we're different. Africans are different from African Americans. African Americans are different from Caribbeans. There's a difference, but they don't see that because they only see you being black. That's all that matters to them. They only care about weaponizing your skin color against you. Number 2, they think you are stupid, especially black people. They think that you are so stupid and you will accept anything for the sake of tokenism. If we truly were to look at, who's who, we would have to look at the true, undiluted truth about the statistics that relate to African Americans in terms of their education, their employment, their health, their wealth, and even their representation. So it's much easier for you to just call everyone black because then you think things are rosy. And I'm not saying that having the first biracial president isn't an amazing achievement. It is. I think it shows how far America has come, but also it can be weaponized in the sense that, you're not really going to be able to complain about anything if they tell you you've had a first black president. There is actually a preference for people who are black African as opposed to African Americans who built the United States. I've also seen some discussions about British actors getting opportunities in Hollywood above African Americans, and it's a contentious issue. I'm not telling you what I think about it, but I'm saying I've noticed. So those who play identity politics, even though they claim to be champions of race, sex, gender, religion, everything else, they themselves do actually have categories of palatables. Number 5, now this is the most juicy theory of mine. Is the idea that they truly believe that blackness can be performed. They bring up the fact that Kamala Harris went to a HBCU. She went to a historically black college. Just like, how does going to a HBCU make you a black person? Same way me playing polo doesn't make me a Caucasian woman. How does going to a HBCU make you a black woman? Like, I'm not really understanding. I'm not understanding at all. I am a black woman because I am. I just am. I don't have to cite the fact that, I don't know, what's in my room? What's in my room that can show that I'm black? See, that's racist. That is racist. Like, I am the authentic African woman. I'm an African woman. I'm a black woman because I am. Like, I don't have to go out of my way to get other people to see me as a black woman because I just am. And also Kamala Harris saying that she listened to an album made by Snoop Dogg. Side note, the album wasn't actually out at the time she said she listened to it. She said she listened to it during college. The album wasn't out then. But side note aside, saying you listen to a rapper, that's kind of like a belittling idea of what makes you black. That's quite insulting. I just don't understand why it's 2020 and we're letting things like this slide. Like, those who claim to be for minorities are perpetuating live racism and no one is calling them out about it. number 6, is that black people themselves have bought into identity politics, which is why it will continue to go on. Because instead of judging people by the content of their character and who they are as opposed to what they are, we as well as individuals are navigating society, well not me, but you know, black folk are navigating society as though the only thing that matters in life is your race, and because of that it's very easy to control you. It's very easy to just, you know, throw you crumbs and, you know, oh, there you go, your first black president, there you go. If you weren't so obsessed with race, then perhaps you wouldn't be getting played to the extent and to the embarrassing levels that you are being played when they claim to be representing you by presenting you someone as an African American who is not an African American. It's a way to pacify you, and I said this in the previous video that the easiest way to control someone is to know, you know, what their biggest fear is, or to know what they value the most. Since black people seem to value colour and melanin so much to the point that nothing else matters when we vote, they're obviously going to play up to that. Funny, because research from the Pew Center actually shows that most people in America actually view Barack Obama as biracial. Caucasian people view Barack Obama as biracial. Hispanic people view Barack Obama as biracial. It's actually black people who overwhelmingly would refer to Barack Obama as a black person. So I just think it's so funny how everyone else can see what's going on. Everyone else, no one is blind. Like, people can see. Black people have bought into identity politics so much to the point that, you know, it just is what it is now. Like, that's just what we're doing now. I'm African. I have family in the United States, by the way, just in case you didn't know. I've got family in the United States, and I don't think they themselves are calling themselves African American. They would not call themselves African American. I just think it's funny to observe the irony of identity politics, claiming to want to advocate for minorities, and yet you're actually operating on an ideology that some would say is actually quite hateful. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Goodbye.